They say good women give without keeping score. Well, I stopped counting after the 100th time I put someone else's needs before my own. After years of late nights, canceled dreams, and bending myself into someone I no longer recognized, just to keep the peace, to be enough. And him? He called me too sensitive, said I was lucky he even stayed. Every time I cried from exhaustion, he rolled his eyes and said, "You always make things harder than they have to be." And just like that, my pain became a burden, my effort invisible. I gave him loyalty. He gave me silence. I gave him my whole heart. He picked it apart like it was disposable. But last night, standing in front of the mirror, hollow-eyed and shaking, I finally asked myself, when did I become the afterthought in my own life? And I knew. I wasn't weak. I was worn out from carrying people who never lifted me back. Not anymore. Hi, I'm Raina, and this is the day I stopped apologizing for breaking under the weight they put on me and started taking my power back. This is my story. I remember the moment I stopped breathing, not literally, but it felt like my lungs just forgot how to work. I'm catching a flight for work. Be back in 3 days, he said, nonchalantly tossing his carry-on over his shoulder, the same way he always did. His lips brushed my cheek, soft, almost practiced. I stood at the door, barefoot, clutching a mug of coffee I didn't even want anymore. We'd been married 9 years. 9 years of building a life, of merging dreams, of surviving storms. And yet in that moment, with the quiet click of the front door closing behind him, something inside me shifted. Not in grief. No, not yet. In suspicion. Deep, gnawing, acidic suspicion. He was supposed to be flying to Denver, a regional tech summit, some last-minute scheduling change. He gave me the same exhausted sigh about networking with investors he always did when these things came up. But something felt off. Maybe it was the way he avoided my eyes when he said goodbye, or how he refused to let me help him pack. Or maybe, God help me, it was woman's intuition, that quiet scream in the back of my brain telling me this isn't right. I stared at the empty hallway for a long time after he left. The silence of our home, once comfortable, suddenly felt cavernous. The stillness was loud, deafening. I sat on the edge of the bed and scrolled aimlessly through my phone until I found myself staring at his Instagram. It hadn't been updated in days. Odd for someone who documented his every airport cappuccino like it was a Van Gogh. And then I noticed it, his location history. It wasn't something he thought to turn off. Maybe he didn't know it even existed. He hadn't flown to Denver. He flew to Maui. My stomach twisted. Maui, a romantic destination, a place we'd once dreamed of going together but never had the time. A beach paradise where people went to fall in love or to disappear into someone else's arms. That was the moment I realized my husband had lied to me. But not just a little white lie. No, this was something else entirely. This was orchestrated, calculated, deliberate. I was blindsided, nauseated. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But more than anything, I wanted the truth. I started pacing. The room like an animal caged too long. 9 years of marriage, and this is what I get? A fake business trip? A secret vacation? I flashed back to all the little things I had brushed aside. Those extra late nights, the passive-aggressive comments. About needing space, the cold detachment that crept into his eyes when I spoke about our future. I thought we were just in a rut. I thought we could fix it. But he was already gone, and not just physically. What kind of man tells his wife he's off to a business trip and instead flies to Maui? Who does that? Why would he do that? The betrayal hit me in waves. My face flushed hot. My heart thudded against my ribs like it was trying to escape. I wasn't just hurt. I was humiliated. And the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This wasn't just infidelity. This was erasure. He wasn't just cheating on me. He was replacing me, hiding me, erasing me from the picture of his life. And just like that, something cold and sharp settled inside me. A new kind of clarity. I was done being the heartbroken wife. I wasn't going to sit around waiting for him to come back and lie to me again. I wasn't going to be a passive casualty in someone else's selfish story. No, he thought he could. Lie, deceive, and discard me without consequence? He didn't know who he was dealing with. He'd just lit a fire inside me, and he was about to learn that karma isn't always patient. It's sometimes a woman with Wi-Fi access, a fierce memory, and nothing left to lose. I couldn't sleep that night. My body refused rest. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling fan, spinning like my thoughts, fast, loud, never stopping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw him on a beach, laughing, smiling, holding hands with someone who wasn't me. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the ease with which he'd done it, the audacity. He had kissed me goodbye and lied with the same lips he used to whisper, "Forever." I didn't know what was worse, the affair, or the fact that he clearly thought I was too stupid to ever find out. The next morning, I did something I never thought I would do. I opened his laptop. I'd never violated his privacy before. I was the kind of woman who believed in boundaries, in trust. But that version of me, the innocent, trusting wife, she died when I saw that plane ticket confirmation to Maui. At first, everything looked clean. Too clean. No saved passwords, no suspicious folders, but he wasn't as clever as he thought. He'd forgotten about his Google Photos sync. It auto-uploaded everything from his phone. And there it was. Dozens of fresh pictures. Him, inboard. Shorts, on a sunset cruise, lounging at a 5-star resort. But it was the last photo that broke me. Him, wrapped in a towel, standing beside a woman in a red bikini, her head on his shoulder, her arms around his waist, smiling. He looked happy. Genuinely, shamelessly happy. My stomach dropped like a trapdoor had opened beneath me. I wanted to scream, but the sob caught in my throat like barbed wire. He had taken her on our dream trip. For years we talked about Maui, saving for it, planning, picking the perfect season. He always said, not yet, maybe next year. And here he was, drinking mojitos poolside with a woman I'd never seen before. That's when the realization hit. This wasn't spontaneous. This wasn't a slip-up. This was a plan, a relationship, maybe even a second life. And I had been living next to a stranger. I started digging deeper. His calendar entries didn't match the flight he claimed he booked. His business card receipts were nowhere in our shared finances. He'd used a different card, one I didn't even know he had, a private account, hidden. And then I found the email chain, under an alias, mjackson72@protonmail.com. I stared at it for a long time. Michael Jackson? Really? He wasn't even trying. And there, in that inbox, was everything. Hotel confirmations, dinner reservations, a couple's massage, even a yacht rental under both their names. All the while, I was back home thinking he was in some dull hotel conference room, fighting through tech demos and boring panels. He knew I'd never suspect. He played the role so well. Every night, he FaceTimed me from what looked like a drab hotel room, same suit jacket, same bland background. But it was staged. A rented office space he'd used for work trips before. There was no Denver, no Summit, only lies. Every day he was gone, I smiled through gritted teeth. I sent him sweet messages, asked about his meetings, told him I missed him. Not because I believed a word he said, but because I needed to keep him comfortable, complacent. I needed time. He thought he'd won. That he'd pulled off the perfect double life. But what he didn't realize, what he couldn't possibly imagine, was that I wasn't sitting around mourning. I wasn't planning a dramatic confrontation or crying into my pillow. No, I was gathering evidence, building a case. One photo, one email, one damning receipt at a time. Because when I confronted him, I wasn't just going to ask for the truth. I was going to bury him in it. It wasn't just the infidelity. That's the part most people fixate on. He cheated. He lied. But this was something else, something deeper. It was the unraveling of everything I thought my life was built on. He didn't just betray my heart. He endangered my future. We had a mortgage, shared investments. A joint business we'd started 3 years ago that I had mostly been running since he started traveling more. I'd helped build his credibility, been the face behind his meetings, kept the books clean, the taxes filed, the accounts in order. While he played entrepreneur, I did the work that kept the lights on. And now, looking at these receipts, those flights, the hotel, the fine dining charged to accounts I never had access to, I realized something terrifying. He was slowly siphoning money, our money, transferring assets into separate accounts, discreetly, gradually, like a man preparing to disappear. I knew then he wasn't just cheating. He was leaving. And he was planning to leave me with nothing. I sat at the kitchen table, all the receipts, bank statements, and screenshots spread out like a crime scene. Because that's what it was, a crime. The crime of erasing a partner, erasing years, erasing me. I remembered the small changes, him encouraging me to put the house under his name for refinancing purposes. Him offering to take over certain bills, making sure they were no longer in my name. The slow transfer of control. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I trusted him. I loved him. But now I saw it for what it really was, a calculated exit strategy. And it wasn't just my livelihood on the line. There was my younger sister, Emma, whom I'd been helping through nursing school. He knew that. He used to praise me for it. "You're so generous," he'd say. "You've got a heart bigger than this house." And yet here he was, gutting our accounts, preparing to abandon me, and by extension, her too. Even more gut-wrenching was the fact that we had been talking about starting IVF next year. We'd struggled with fertility for years, tried everything, and after so many tears, heartbreaks, and false hopes, we had finally been saving for it. That account, it was gone. He'd cleared it out. He was robbing me not just of my present, but of my future, my family. That was the moment something inside me hardened. The pain didn't disappear, but it calcified, turned to grit. I couldn't afford to be the devastated wife anymore. That version of me would get crushed, discarded, left with emotional scars and empty bank accounts. No, I had to be smart, strategic, ruthless, if I had to be. He thought he'd prepared every step, that I'd never find out, that if I did, I wouldn't have the spine to retaliate, that I'd cry, maybe beg, but ultimately accept it. But he'd miscalculated, because I wasn't just heartbroken, I was furious, and now I had a purpose. This wasn't about vengeance, not entirely. It was about reclaiming what was mine. He had taken so much from me already. My trust, my stability, my dreams. But he wasn't going to take my future. Not without a fight. And it wouldn't just be a confrontation. I wasn't going to storm into his hotel room in Maui and scream like a woman scorned. No, he'd prepared for that version of me. That would be easy to dismiss, easy to twist into a crazy ex-wife narrative. But a woman who was quiet, who was calculating, who collected proof. That woman could destroy him. Legally, financially, socially. He had built his castle on lies, and I was going to burn it down brick by brick while he was still living in it. I stopped crying after that night. No more sobbing into wine glasses or rereading our wedding vows like they meant anything anymore. I had a job to do, a mission. If he wanted to play games, he had no idea he'd just enrolled in the wrong league. Step 1, secure my own assets. I made copies of everything. Our business documents, our joint tax filings, his private banking statements, the travel receipts to Maui. I backed it all up on an external drive and locked it in a safe deposit box under my name. I printed out bank ledgers with timestamps and circled every suspicious withdrawal. I had enough proof to draw a roadmap straight to his lies. Then I opened my own checking account, quietly, moved what little I could, anything he hadn't touched yet. I also withdrew a few thousand in cash, just in case. If things got ugly, I needed to be ready to move fast. Step 2, find out who she was. She wasn't tagged in any of the photos, but his phone synced names with faces. In one shot, she was holding up a cocktail glass with her name on the drink ticket. Kristen. That was enough. I reverse searched the image, cross-referenced with public LinkedIn profiles, and there she was. Kristen Jameson. 32. Executive. Assistant at a pharmaceutical company. Divorced. A series of vacation photos matched up. Hawaii, Cabo, Turks, and Caicos. All posted within the last 18 months. A pattern. She wasn't his first, but she might be the last. Step 3. Gain access. He was careful, paranoid even, but not careful enough. He had reused an old password for his hidden email account, a variation of our wedding date. Classic narcissist move, thinking I wouldn't remember the day that marked the beginning of this entire mess. Inside the inbox were dozens of conversations. He was promising her the world. Just a few more months and we'll be free, he wrote. I'm handling things on my end. Things. Me. He was handling me. They even discussed moving in together. He told her I was emotionally unstable and that he feared for his mental health. I nearly laughed out loud. The projection was Olympic level, but I didn't get angry. I took screenshots, every single one. Step 4. Get legal leverage. I scheduled a meeting with a divorce attorney, a woman. She listened with an unreadable expression as I laid it all out. The photos, the secret accounts, the business he'd tried to take control of, the IVF fund he'd drained. Does he know you found out? She asked. No, I said. Not yet. She gave a single nod. Good, keep it that way. For now. She helped me draw up a plan, a financial freeze order for shared accounts, legal filing for marital asset protection, a formal request for an audit of our business's finances, and best of all, a restraining clause that would prevent him from moving or selling anything without notifying me and the court. The key was timing. I couldn't make a single move until everything was lined up. He was due back in 3 days. 3 days to build my case. 3 days to prepare every detail. 3 days before his entire house of cards came tumbling down. I installed hidden cameras in our shared home office, just in case he came home early or tried to cover his tracks. I changed the passwords to our shared business software. He would think it was a glitch. I let him feel comfortable, safe. Because when he walked through that door, he wouldn't be coming home to a confused, crying wife. He'd be walking into the final act of his own downfall. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to throw his clothes out the window. I was going to sit him down, look him in the eyes, and show him exactly how it feels to have everything ripped away. This wasn't about rage anymore. It was about justice, and I was going to make sure karma didn't miss. The day before he returned, I moved with precision. I went into our shared office and gathered all the physical records, bank statements, business contracts, receipts, insurance papers, and packed them away. Not so he wouldn't find them, but because I didn't want to risk him changing anything. Deleting files, rewriting history, I'd already scanned and saved everything in 3 secure cloud backups under different emails. Digital proof was one thing, but in court, hard copies still matter. Then came the confrontation prep. I opened a private folder on my laptop titled Michael's Vacation Files. Inside were screen recordings of his emails, travel confirmations, and every message to Kristen. I edited together a clean chronological timeline. The photos, the receipts, the fake business trip plans, every lie neatly arranged. If I was going to expose him, I wanted it airtight, undeniable. After locking that folder behind a double authentication password, I called our accountant, my new accountant. I told him to initiate a full forensic review of our business. I didn't go into details, just said there were financial irregularities I needed documented, discreetly. The next step was informing a few key allies. My best friend Mia had been asking questions for weeks. Why is he traveling so much? You okay? I'd always shrugged it off. Not anymore. I sat her down and told her everything. She went silent, then said, "Whatever you need. I'm in." She offered something I hadn't thought about. Kristen's ex-husband worked at the same firm as her cousin. Small world, right? Turns out Kristen had a reputation and a history of attaching herself to men with power, extracting whatever she could, then moving on. One guy ended up demoted when his affair with her leaked to HR. Another was fired after his wife filed a harassment complaint with Kristen's flirtatious emails as evidence. This woman wasn't just a homewrecker. She was a strategic opportunist, which meant I wasn't just saving myself, I was possibly preventing the next woman from being blindsided too. I also made a list, an actual physical list, of accounts I needed to check. Utilities, credit, cards, investment portfolios, tax portals, Anything he could access, anything he could tamper with. Then I locked every single one down with new passwords, security questions, and two-factor authentication. I called every company and confirmed that no changes could be made without my verbal consent. People underestimate how often financial abuse follows emotional betrayal. I wasn't going to let that happen to me. By now, the puzzle pieces were all fitting together. The picture was clear. I could practically see his face when I showed him the evidence. I didn't fantasize about screaming or slapping him. I wanted silence. That's where power lives, in composure, in calm, in cold, undeniable facts. The last thing I did before he came home? I wrote him a letter. Not for him to read, for me. I wrote down every way he made me feel, the humiliation, the gaslighting, the gut-wrenching betrayal. I wrote down how I gave him my best years, stood by him when his first business failed, sacrificed my own career so he could shine. I poured all of it into that letter, not for pity, not for revenge, but to purge it. To bleed it out so I wouldn't carry it into the next chapter of my life. I folded that letter and tucked it in the back of my journal. That version of me, the one who waited by the phone, who believed in every excuse, who doubted her own instincts, she was gone. That letter was her eulogy. When the day came, I wasn't nervous. I was ready. I sat in our living room, calm, composed, my laptop open beside me. And when the front door opened and he walked in, suitcase in hand, fake exhaustion on his face, I knew. He had no idea. He walked in like nothing had changed. Same, smug smile, same smooth voice. "Hey babe, flight was long. I'm exhausted." I stood in the living room, calm, arms crossed. "How was the flight from Denver?" I asked, tilting my head. He blinked. "Yeah, exhausting, delayed." "Too." I nodded slowly. "Interesting, because the airline says you never boarded." He froze, just a flicker, a split-second break in his expression, but I saw it, and that's all I needed. I gestured to the laptop open on the coffee table. "Sit down, we need to talk." He didn't move. He was calculating, wondering how much I knew, how much he could still lie his way through. So I clicked play. On screen, his secret email thread with Kristen filled the screen. Every line, every promise, every plan. Her name in the subject. Line. Her photo in the body of the email, captioned, "Our little Maui escape, finally some time away from the ball and chain." He dropped the suitcase, stumbled backward slightly. "It's not what you think." "Save it," I cut in, my voice sharper than I'd ever let it be around him. "You've been lying to me for months. You emptied our savings, forged your solo business plans, and sold the future we built together for a fling and a beachfront cocktail." He tried again. "I didn't mean to hurt you. Kristen, she's just the latest," I snapped. "And by the way, I know about the others too. Kristen's just the one dumb enough to get caught on camera." His face paled. "I met with a lawyer," I continued. "Everything's filed. The business is being audited. Our accounts are frozen. The house title? Re-examined. You can't touch anything without my signature now." He swallowed. You wouldn't ruin everything. We built this together." "No," I said coldly. "I built it while you played fantasy husband, and now you'll get exactly what you deserve." Then I handed him a folder, neatly organized, time-stamped, bullet-pointed, a full dossier of his lies. "Consider this your karma packet." He rifled through it, eyes widening as he realized just how deep my knowledge went. "You've been spying on me?" I almost laughed. "You lied, stole, cheated, and schemed, and you're the victim now?" There was a long silence. He finally sat down, face buried in his hands. Defeated. I didn't feel pity. I felt peace. I stood up. "You can stay the night in the guest room. After that, I expect you gone by the weekend. Your lawyer will receive the paperwork by Monday. Don't try to fight me, you'll lose." And just like that, the power shift was complete. The man who thought he had control over every angle, who mocked me behind my back, who plotted to leave me with nothing, was now the one sitting in silence, staring at the ruins of the life he tried to fake. As I walked upstairs, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I'd seen all I needed to see. I took my power back. In the weeks that followed, I finalized the separation. Kristen, predictably, vanished from his life once. She realized the money was locked down and the chaos he brought came with consequences. He tried to win me back. Letters, calls, promises, all ignored. I rebuilt, rebranded the business under my name, hired new staff, sold the house, moved into a bright, beautiful apartment with a view of the city I'd once feared I'd lose. Reconnected with people I'd pushed away while trying to fix a marriage that was never real in the first place. I helped my sister finish nursing school. I even took a solo trip, to Maui of all places. I walked the same beaches he once did, not with sadness, but with clarity. Because revenge isn't always rage and destruction. Sometimes it's calm, strategic, clean. Sometimes karma isn't loud. It's the sound of a woman walking away, with her life, her dignity, and her future intact, while the man who tried to steal it all is left behind, holding nothing but regret.